Patrol Deputy, 1999 to 2002. During the course of the competitive process to select a chief to replace Doug Scott, one of the many things I kept emphasizing to the selection committee was a more vigorous approach to community policing and the need to have a third deputy chief exclusively for patrol. Up until now, the ops deputy was responsible for everything non-administrative in the police department: uniform patrol, district-based investigators, the detectives of the Criminal Investigations Bureau, including narcotics and vice, and all of the specialty units under the Operations Support Bureau, which included the Traffic Division, Special Operations, also known as the SWAT team, and the Helicopter Branch. That was far too many divisions and personnel to be under the purview of one deputy. As I lost the selection process for chief to my ops counterpart and acting chief, I found that many of my suggestions came to fruition, of course, as the concepts of the newly selected chief. One of the first steps he took, and I don't believe for 1 minute that the county executive didn't tell him upon his appointment, "Now that you're chief, there were a lot of good suggestions that resulted from the selection process, including," that was to create a third deputy chief position exclusively for patrol, and that I was to fill that newly created post. One of the main reasons for creating that third deputy chief position was to spread the responsibilities of all the non-administrative functions over 2 deputy positions. With an agency now the size of Fairfax, nearly 1,200 sworn at this point, I believe, it was unreasonable to expect the patrol division with its 7 district stations, crime prevention, youth services, and animal control to be overseen by the same deputy who was responsible for the Criminal Investigations Bureau, narcotics, and special operations, helicopter, traffic division, SWAT, etc. Creating the deputy chief for patrol would allow the existing deputy to cover CIB and OSB and become the deputy chief for investigations and special operations. My new position as patrol deputy would still have nearly 1,000 uniformed officers under my purview. I wanted to make the patrol division even more effective, and it was always a challenge to add or create new positions because the county was very stingy about staffing. I had always found little use for those duty officer positions that had, over the years, morphed from captains to majors. These commanders were assigned rotating shifts to cover the overnight hours to provide command overview for complex situations and then report the overnight activities so the chief and deputies would know of developments first thing in the morning. While these positions had historically been handled by captains, the current chief and his predecessor had both been duty majors. To this day, I don't know why they were ever elevated to that rank. Agencies often had the reputation or habit of creating new positions in which to put people they had little use or no use for in. I don't know if this was the reason these positions were inflated and then never returned to their formal rank, and we may never know. Nevertheless, the current chief's thinking was, since it had once been his position as a major to be a duty officer, then certainly no one of lesser rank could ever handle it, except that they permitted captains to fill in for the majors when they were on leave or in training, and they permitted first lieutenants to serve as weekend daytime duty officers. What, they can't work at night? There was a real disconnect about the responsibilities of these positions and the rank of the commanders who held them. I proposed, and it took quite a bit of arm twisting to get this through, the 2 duty majors and the major's position that had been in charge of patrol be structured into patrol division commanders. Each of the 3 majors would be responsible for 2 to 3 district stations plus an additional non-patrol function, for example, school resource officers, crime analysis, crime prevention, and animal control. They would provide the nighttime duty officer function by rotating the responsibilities among themselves with fill-ins from the station and division commanders, who were the captains. This would give the district station commanders an advocate level of review versus dealing directly with the deputy chief, giving these former duty majors some responsibility other than cruising around drinking coffee, responding to an occasional major incident, and provide further opportunities for mentoring, training, and experience by filling in for vacationing majors by the captains, and more flexibility. I found having these 3 patrol majors located nearby and available, other than 1/3 of the time they were working duty, provided an invaluable forum and breadth of opinion on various subjects and issues. It always seemed that there was some issue arising from the personalities of several of the majors holding these positions, but in the end, the structure worked well and has continued on. While there were many challenges during the 2.5 to 3 years I held this position, not the least of which was that after the after effect of 9/11, it seemed that the level of authority, and I might mention held in that high esteem, that many of the day-to-day, ongoing, persistent issues during that period either seem trivial now, 12 to 14 years later, or were more or less satisfactorily resolved. Speaking of trivial, one of the most contentious issues my ops counterpart and I had with the chief was a transition to gray shirts for the command staff, first lieutenant and above, to be more uniform with the rest of the agency. We could still wear our bright white dress shirts for ceremonial or formal purposes, but in the name of uniformity, we wanted everyone to wear the same gray shirt that patrol officers wore. It took months, if not years, of convincing the chief to reluctantly adopt this. Interestingly, today, as he went on to be chief of another suburban police agency, he never is seen wearing anything other than the black shirt that his men and women wear in that agency. If they only knew how he really felt about the white shirt issue. It was the white shirt that placed him and other white shirt supporters above everyone else. That is what he missed with the change to all gray shirts. This example of rank imperialism is further exemplified by the following unpleasant episode.